The captain is in for demotion as there's been an oversight in the flag department. In some countries, when you arrive, you've got to fly the yellow quarantine flag. There wasn't one in the bag of flags, so Ansha has made one.
It's a duster. Put a couple of bits of string on. Oh, we got a cute flag.
In 3 days we would be checking out of Turkey at Didim to go to Greece. But this mild May morning we weighed anchor and left Knidos for Katalada, just off the Bodrum coastline. As we approached the bay at Katalada, the wind picked up.
I don't know how comfy this is going to be.
With poor depth to anchor and no shelter on this lee shore, we headed towards Gamushluk, a sheltered bay just up the coast.
This is the lovely little anchorage we find ourselves waking up in this morning. This was our plan B anchorage yesterday. The first one we went to was basically a lee shore with a building wind, and also I wasn't too happy with the depths at all. It went shallow quite quickly, and if the wind had swung around then we would have potentially been into shallow water, and that's not a good thing. But here we are in this beautiful little place. A bit of a tight squeeze getting in. You've got to watch, there's a submerged old harbour wall, or the remnants of it, so you've got to make sure you keep it slow and look at your charts and check your depths. We dropped the anchor in 15 meters and pulled back to 10 meters, and we have 35 meters of chain out. The bottom here is weed and mud, and the mantis went in first time and has stayed put all through the wind. I think the wind only probably was sustained about 15 knots and gusting to maybe 20 knots. Today we've got another 4-hour trip. We're going to Didim, and we're potentially staying there for 1, maybe 2 nights. Didim is now our new checkout port of Turkey, simply because it didn't really make sense to go further north all the way to Kuşadası and then check out and then come all the way south again to check into Samos. So Didim to Samos is about 5 hours. Of course, one of the things we've got to get our head around is the new Greek cruising tax, which has just been introduced 2 days ago. We will pay that online before we enter Greece, which will just make the whole entry process a lot simpler. So we'll see how that all pans out.
As we weighed anchor, we got very close to another yacht that had anchored almost on top of our own anchor the night before. But we missed it, and were soon leaving Gamushluk for Didim.
Just behind me you can see the town or city of Didim. We're about 25 minutes out from dropping anchor. Had a look at the bay. There's a couple of spots in there that might be good for us, but if that's no good, then there are plenty of other options here. We'll be spending 2 nights here, as we said previously, so we'll see how it works out when we start getting things done. But Didim is definitely our check out of Turkey town. Been a bit of a weird trip over. 1 minute the wind was there and we got the sails out and it was great, and we were doing, I don't know, 4 knots or so under sail, and then the wind just decides to bugger off and it's now become almost glassy calm with no wind at all, and once again we're sailing. But I have had my morning exercise of bringing in and putting away the sails at least 2 or 3 times today.
And it's giving me the opportunity while it's calm to actually do some sewing and finishing off pieces of jewellery without getting seasick, so that's really good.
We've just dropped our anchor in 4.5 metres of water and let 20 metres of chain out here on the outside of this bay here at Didim. We are pretty much as close as you can be without being an obstruction to the entrance to the Dimarin Marina at Didim. We couldn't really get any further into this bay because it shallows off quite quickly, and also just out there somewhere there are a couple of submerged rocks which may or may not be at 5 metres below the surface, so we came further over to this side, and it is a dead calm flat day and hopefully it's going to stay that way. There are other options should the wind, weather and waves change. So, putting the boat to bed, lower the dinghy, and we're going to catch up with Beverly and Metin. We are currently in Didim having a brief tour on our first afternoon here, thanks to Beverly and Metin. And Metin has just taken us somewhere to try and get our cooking gas refilled, but unfortunately they don't refill here, they refill a long way away and it would just be too complex. Anyway, moving on from that, as you can see behind me, there's a very ancient building, and this is the Apollo Temple.
And those columns are huge. But apparently it was also one of the places where there was an oracle, so people would come from a long way to come and get their fortunes told.
Yeah, it wasn't really fortune telling, it was more they had a burning question, you know, will I survive this battle?
Is that a fortune or not? Yes, you will, no you won't.
Let's take a closer look. Imagine how long it would have taken to put this thing together, and just the idea of stacking these pieces to make a column that tall. I mean, that's got to be 30 metres, close to 30 metres tall. And getting those capstones on top, unbelievable. You can get some sense of the scale of things. There are 3 people standing by those columns down there now, 2 people standing there. But that is a size comparison for these columns. They are absolutely
Gigantic,
colossal. That's definitely the word for it.
The next day we collected Jim in the dinghy and went over to Didim. We moored the dinghy on the end of a new jetty that was being built for one of the hotels. We almost didn't get back to the dinghy because hotel security wouldn't let us back in. However, when the security guard realised there was no other way to get to our dinghy, they let us through.
This is our penultimate day in Turkey, and we are here at an ATM where they charge the least amount to withdraw money. And we are getting some euros out because come tomorrow
We'll need them.
We'll need them because we'll be in Greece. Ooh, look at that, shiny euros. We're going to Europe! Monday morning here in the anchorage outside the marina at Didim, and we really wanted to do the whole paperwork checkout process ourselves, but it just seemed to be that nobody really knew what to do if you weren't using an agent. First of all, we went to the head office of the marina, and they said, oh, you better go and check with the harbour master and customs office. We went there and they said, well, you really need to check with the marineros. So we went to the marineros and they weren't kind of there, but somebody did say, you need to check with the front office. So at this point we went to the agent's office in the marina, very nice guy, great English, and said, you know, what's the process, how long does it take? Because you do get 2 hours for free on a pontoon while you're checking out in the marina. If you go over that 2 hours, they charge you for a whole day, and that's something like 560 lira.
Yeah.
So we figured for the 50 euros for the agent to do it, and not have the worry of going over that 2 hour time period, it was just worth spending the 50 euros.
Customs man.
The customs, harbour master, passport control, police are all in one building.
Yeah.
So once you've walked there, you don't have to walk anywhere else.
If the customs guy is here and not at Kushadasi.
Yeah. So just too many unknowns.
Yeah.
50 euros seemed to be a reasonable price to pay.
Yeah.
So now we're just going to go in and refuel. I've already taken the paperwork to the agent. We're going to go in to refuel, and while we're refueling and sitting on the fuel berth, he's going to process our paperwork. So this is it, Turkey.
Oh,
We're going to say goodbye.
Been an absolutely wonderful place to visit. Love the country, love the people.
Yeah.
Be sad to say goodbye, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, we're really excited to go to Greece, but it's kind of bittersweet.
Yeah. Right. Let's bring that anchor up.
Yeah.
Go and refuel.
Bye, Turkey, we love you. And we're going to see you again.
We left Didim in Turkey at 11 a.m. on Monday the 13th of May. The weather was sunny with a slight haze, and the sea was flat and calm.
Greek waters, pilot guide. Hey!
After only 2.5 hours, we arrived at Agathonisi, a little Greek island, and we dropped anchor to stay there overnight before heading to Samos to check into Greece the next day.
We're here.
In Greece.
It's 1:30 Monday afternoon, and this is our first overnight anchorage in Greece.
Yeah, Agathonisi.
Yeah. It's a cute little town.
Yeah.
That's not even a town, is it? It's a village.
It's a little
it's a little
hamlet.
fishing village.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're just going to stay here for the night, because this really takes about 2.5, maybe 3 hours off our trip to Samos, which is literally just behind this island. So Samos tomorrow, that's where we check in. But we can anchor here for tonight, as long as we don't go ashore. Don't go ashore.
At 9:30 the next morning, we made our way to Pythagorean in Samos.
Well, we're just a mile away from entering the port of Pythagoria on the island of Samos in Greece. and we are going to attempt to get our own TEPAT and everything else sorted out, including the new Greek cruising tax which has to be levied. So we've got all our paperwork together. We're going to drop anchor in the bay and then dinghy over to the little harbour we will tie off, and then go to the port police, harbour master and customs. So that's Samos.
We dropped anchor in 4 metres of water and went ashore to officially check into Greece.
ABC is now anchored in Pythagoria on the Greek island of Samos. Pythagoria is a port of entry, and you have two choices when you come here. You can anchor just outside the harbour like we have, or you can go stern to in the harbour. If you do decide to anchor here rather than going stern to on the quayside, then just be aware that most of that harbour wall there is for ferries that come in almost on a daily basis, and I'm sure in summer there'll be several ferries a day. So anchor well off. We are currently in 4 metres of water with 20 metres of chain out. The holding is very good with sand. There are some weed patches around too, but you can certainly pick and choose a sand patch if that's your preferred holding. The cost for being stern to in the harbour is €10 a day, and that includes your water and electricity, so that's a very reasonable price to pay. Not all of the positions against the harbour wall have lazy lines available. Checking in here, you don't really need an agent, it's very easy to do. Just over there on the seawall side of things, in front of the white boat, is a small white demountable building, and that's where you'll find the immigration police. You need to go there first with your passports and all your other documents in case they want to see something, and they will just check you in. They don't actually stamp your passports unless you specifically ask, I guess. After you've done what you need to do at the immigration police, it's a short walk into town, roughly in that general area there. You will see the building. It has a big Greek flag outside the front of it, and you go into the customs office. There is a charge of €20 for them to process your paperwork and check you in, and then literally right next door are the port police, where you can get your TEPAT if you are a EU vessel, or if you're not an EU vessel, you will have a transit log issued. There is a charge of €15 for the TEPAT, and all in all the whole process took us around about an hour. Now let's talk about the Greek cruising tax, which has just been introduced. Vessels up to 12 metres in length have various tiers that they are charged at. Over 12 metres you are charged €8 per month per metre. So for ABC at 14 metres, that's 8 times 14 per month, and you have to pay the month in advance. The method that we found easiest with regards to the cruising tax was to go online to the website, and I'll put a link down below in the description for that website. Register your vessel's details and your personal details, print that out, there are 2 pages to print out, and take that to either a post office or a bank in town and pay the corresponding fee for however many months you want and whatever the length of your vessel is. Then with your proof of payment, when you go in to see the port police to get your TEPAT sorted out, you can then lodge that paperwork with them and everything's hunky-dory.
A huge thank you to all our patrons, because you help us to keep sailing and making videos. Join us next week on Sailing ABC as we hire a car and tour around Samos Island. If you've enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, and if you're new here, subscribe and ding the bell icon and you'll be notified of future videos.